Is listing the area that you find to be the most frustrating aspect of reselling? Well, if so, you are not alone. I recently polled over 22,000 members of my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center, and by far and away, listing was the area that people found to be the most frustrating, the area that they had the greatest difficulty with. We all love to go out and source all those great treasures, but taking it home and processing it and cleaning it and taking photos and typing out the descriptions and that type of thing, that is where a lot of the problems arise and is what leads to those infamous death piles. So in this video, what I'm going to do is go over 10 ways to list 10 times faster on eBay and also any other place where you're selling. It'll apply for Amazon, Mercari, Poshmark, wherever. These are pretty much general principles. So let's get into number one. Listing in bunches. That's what I'm going to start off with first, because I think that is one of the biggest problems, especially with people who are new into reselling. What will often happen is that someone will grab an item like this, and then they will take their photographs, and then they will go over and they'll list it. And then what they'll do is they'll get up and they'll search for their next item. They'll pick it up, they'll take photographs, they'll list it. Then they'll go over and go find another item to list, and so on and so forth. The problem is that's a lot of extra wasted time moving back and forth trying to find items. Also, it gets harder and harder as the day goes along to get up each time to go grab new items. So what I would suggest is grabbing all of the items that you plan to list at once, bring them over to wherever it is that you're taking your photos. Take your photos all at once of all your items, and then move over to the area where you're going to do your listings and list all of those things at once as well, one after another, consecutive. You could do them in groups of 5, in groups of 10, in groups of 20, whatever you feel more comfortable with, but not one at a time. Now, while listing in bunches is great, there's one other thing you need to add on to that to really increase your listing speed, and that is listing in themes. So if you think about the different items that I just showed you, like the Santa Claus and the camera, and the book, those are all going to take different setups and different viewing angles. Different lighting could be involved. For example, this shiny elephant that Mrs. Primetime is going to list soon. I mean, this is going to take a different type of approach because of glare and all sorts of things that you have to do differently with it. So what really helps is that if you could get similar items that you're going to use the same listing process with and list all of those together, or at least in big bunches. So for example, instead of just taking all those items and then just using a separate process to photograph all of them and also list them, why not just take a lot of the similar things like this book, and then while you're at it, grab another one, grab another one, grab another one, grab another one, and so on and so forth. This is exactly what I do when I'm listing my comic books, for example, is I'll just take a whole bunch of them at once and have the same exact photography process for each one of them, and also the listing for each one has its own certain process that I go through in terms of how I describe it, and everything goes that much faster. So remember, list by theme. Now, while you could always go and create your own listing, the problem is that nothing has been entered or selected. So you're going to have to do all of that work yourself, which means a lot of extra time. So to increase your listing efficiency, what I would highly suggest doing for any items you want to list that are similar to something you already have listed is to use this sell similar feature. Now to access it, all you have to do is go to your existing listing. I'm showing you the example of the Batman book that I showed earlier, but you could replace my example with whatever it is that you tend to list. And just hit it right here, hit that button, Sell Similar, and that is going to carry over all of the information from your listing, including the category in eBay and your own store category. So you don't have to search for that stuff. All you need to make sure that you do is replace anything that needs to be replaced and keep anything that can be kept. Every little thing that you can keep and don't have to change, that is going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to add up in the long run. For items that you want to sell that are not similar to something you have in your store, then you could just go to someone else's listing and click the Sell Now button. There's nothing wrong with doing this. It's completely appropriate, and within the rules of eBay, that's why they have the Sell Now button, to save you some time here. And so again, you just want to go in, change anything that needs to be changed, and keep anything that should be kept. It doesn't carry over the photos, so you don't have to worry about that. It will carry it over for your own Sell Similar, so be careful there. But overall, doing this could save you a ton of time. Do you find yourself writing the same type of information over and over and over again in your listings? If so, start using templates. It could really save you a bunch of time. Just click this button right here, Advanced Editing within eBay, and you could create and insert and edit custom templates. It's really easy to do. You just select that drop-down menu. I'll show you examples of ones that I already have. T-shirts, for example, I just posted a bunch recently. Look at that. I don't have to retype any of that information over because it's already there. I have ones for comic books, I have ones for handbags, and they're just customized for whatever it is I tend to sell a bunch of. If you want to create one, just go to Create a Template, type in whatever it is that you want to type in that you're going to usually write over and over again, give it a name, and then save it. And then the next thing whenever you go back to this area to select the template, it will be there, and you could edit it anytime by just managing the template. So you would just go here, you said manage, select it. Here's my one for comic books, and I could just go in there and edit it as I need to. So it's a real big time saver. Now, outside of eBay or whatever platform it is you're using, you could use templates as well. For example, if you're finding yourself doing a lot of measurements, then just create templates for your measurements on a computer, something like this. Customize it to whatever it is that you need. Print out this piece of paper, cut it up into little squares, and then you don't have to write that out every time in terms of write out the word length or L or SS for shoulder to shoulder or AA for armpit to armpit. It's all right there. Big, big time saver right there, and it'll speed up your listings. One of the biggest things that hurt me last year in terms of listing speed was a slow computer. It would take forever for things to upload onto eBay, such as pictures. I realized with how much money I was losing that I needed to invest in a faster computer. I was fed up. So when the new year started, I decided to kick it off with a brand new laptop. It was a significant upgrade over what I previously had, and it really helped improve my listing speed. And as the year went on, in conjunction with doing live streams for my YouTube channel, I also realized that I had a problem with my internet connectivity, and I really needed to speed that up. My upload speeds and my download speeds were way too slow. Now, no one wants to invest hundreds of dollars into doing these and other types of upgrades, but when you consider how much money you're losing by not having those upgrades, it really starts to make sense to do. Now, these are just a couple of examples. I've also talked about the need to upgrade your lighting. That could really improve things, both in terms of YouTube, but also in terms of your listings. Because if you're wasting a lot of time trying to get the right lighting and you just don't have sufficient equipment, something like a ring light or 2 or 3 could really help out. There's many different types of lights that are out there. Now, besides upgrading the lighting, another thing that you can do to significantly increase your listing speed in the photography phase is to upgrade your camera. Now, you could do that by upgrading your smartphone. The cameras get better and better every time, or you can invest into a separate camera that you use for your listings. Don't forget to also make tech investments into whatever area it is that you specialize in. There very likely are some products that could really help you out. So take, for example, our friend Don the Auction Professor. Go check out his channel by the same name. He sells a ton of postcards, and the only way he could get up as many postcards as he has listed is by using a postcard scanner. Now, that was an investment, but that investment really paid off. So again, don't feel shy to invest in tech. It could really pay off in the end. Now, another thing that you could do to significantly increase your listing speed is to cut out needless excess. So by that, I mean, don't put in a bunch of stuff that the buyer does not need to make a decision about whether or not they're going to purchase the item. So don't put in pages and pages of text when just one paragraph would be sufficient. Photos, same thing. Yeah, on eBay, you get the opportunity to put up 12 photos, and sometimes you would need that, it would be appropriate, but other times it's not. So for example, for most books that I put up or comic books, it only requires 3 or 4 photos. One of the front, one on the back, one of the spine, and one sometimes of the inside. I don't need to take a picture of every single corner and nook and cranny. When Mrs. Primetime got into listing jewelry, one of the things that I noticed is she was spending a lot of time taking pictures of every little angle of things like a brooch. And I said to her, you don't need to do that. You just need to take a couple of photos, come up with a system and a routine for your items in terms of how you do it. And that will significantly increase your speed, especially if you're listing by theme. So you see how a lot of these things start to go together. Shout out to Jessie Shops, by the way. I always mention her, but she purchased this really cool alligator jewelry piece here today. So it's really awesome. Even has a bow tie on it. So that's cool. Another thing is, don't get obsessed with perfection. Yeah, you want your things to look good, but if you're trying to increase your listing speed, sometimes the perfect can be the enemy of the good. I'll give you a good example. So this came from today, and this is the listing that I just showed you earlier. We were using Photo Fuse to apply a white background onto this. Now, if I want to be perfectionistic about it, I could go and I could really make sure that this yellow does not go outside of the bird at all. And so it will be a perfect white background. So PhotoFuse does have an option within it in which it can auto select the image, but it usually winds up going outside of the target item a bit. And so that can leave a little bit of a gray shadow there. But if you go and you look at the actual listing here, you'll see that it still looks good. Yeah, a little shadow on the outside, but if you're trying to increase your listing speed, these are some of the small sacrifices that you need to make. So cut out the needless excess and stop being obsessed with perfection. It is dark outside now, and that becomes a problem for most people the later and later it gets into the evening, because most people are getting more and more tired, and that means motivation to list goes down. So as much as possible, try to do your listings during the day. For some people who work, that's going to be impossible, but in those instances, try to list earlier in the evening rather than later in the evening. There can be some people watching this who are exceptions, who are real night owls and just really love, working those really late hours, and you could do it. But for most people, really try to consolidate those listings into the daytime hours. Now, this next one, getting into a zone, is one of the most underestimated things that you could do to significantly increase your listing speed. By getting into a zone, I mean trying to find a period of time of about an hour or more in which you could work uninterrupted. Now, I know a lot of people hearing this are saying, but you don't know what my family is like, and they're always interrupting me. I got this one, that one coming at me. I get it, I understand. But what you need to try to do in those situations is to approach those people, or if you're dealing with kids, to try to, talk to the kids if possible, or talk to someone else in the house who might be able to manage the kids and let them know why you need that set period of time in which you're uninterrupted. Of course, there could be exceptions to this and where there's emergencies or something urgent that comes up. But in general, you're trying to get that free block of time. You could also negotiate with your kids for listing time. For example, if you let mommy or daddy do what I'm doing here on the computer for about an hour, then after that, we can do such and such activity together. So there's things like that that you could do. And you also have to be careful to manage your own time so that you are not setting up your listing time during periods where you would have your own set of interruptions that are occurring. So for example, don't set it around the time where you're doing laundry and you're going to have to get up and take it out of the washer and put it into the dryer. Don't set it during the time where you're going to have to get up and you're going to have to make lunch or you're going to have to make dinner. Work around those times and get into that zone, because as soon as that zone gets broken, it's really hard to get back into that rhythm. Now, at a certain point, no matter how fast you can list, you are going to run up against the upper limits of what is humanly possible. Even superheroes like Flash behind me are going to run up against the limit of what they could list before they need to reach out to someone for some help. And that's the point. Eventually, you need some help if you want to get more listings up, and that's how you grow your business. Remember the interview that I did last week with Mr. Magazine and Paperboy. Mr. Magazine has about 10 to 12 employees that helps him get up those hundreds of thousands of listings. Don the Auction Professor, who I mentioned earlier, he has employees that help him get up listings. Now, those don't necessarily have to be strangers who you hire to employ. You can employ family members. You can employ friends of family members. You could hire a virtual assistant. There's lots of ways to go about doing it. You could get your spouse involved into the business. Mrs. Primetime, for example, my wife, has helped enormously now that she's into listing and she's getting up a bunch of Disney items and jewelry pieces. And so that has really helped us grow. And sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to ask for that help. All right, now this next one is going to be very specific to you, which is why I called it self-evaluation, because only you know some of the specific things that you are doing that is wasting time while listing. I'm going to give you a perfect example of something that I have been doing all year that has just been a big waste of time when you add it all up. And that's the thing with some of these things, is that when you're in the midst of doing some of these time wasters, they don't seem like that big of a deal, so you kind of let it slide. But you got to be honest with yourself and realize how much time these things are taking. So I'm going to show you an example and then show you what the solution was. Okay, so what you see here is a setup for how I would obtain some of my white backgrounds for some items. So for example, with this Santa candle here, what I would do is put it on this white trifold board, and then I'd have another white trifold board above it, and I'd take the photo, I'd lighten it up on the phone, and then I'd apply photo fuse to it, and I get the white background. The problem though is that I'd always get this dark seam on the bottom, which threw off the white background I was trying to obtain. And I would have to cut it out and paste in some white into it to make that go away. But if you have a lot of photos to go through at different angles and stuff, it really could be a big time waster. So let me show you what the solution is. The solution is this 16-inch light box by Samtian, Samtian. Why it helps is that there is no longer a seam in the back. So this is just a continuous run of white that just flows upwards, so that when you take the picture to get the white background, there's nothing that you need to cut out. So it really works out. Mrs. Primetime also got this to help her out with her jewelry photos, which is also improved her listing significantly. If anyone's interested in me doing a video review of this light box, I will do it, but I do highly suggest it and recommend it. If you're interested, again, the link is down in the description section. All right, well, there you have it, folks. Those are the 10 ways to list 10 times faster on eBay. Start applying those strategies and let me know in the comments section if they are working for you. Don't forget to also add your own strategies that you use that I did not discuss in this video. There's always useful tips that I learn from you as well, and many others will also benefit from. In terms of programming notes, tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be on the Flips Finds Fun YouTube channel for an interview with Josh and Jake. I'll put the link to that in the description section. If you missed it, go watch the replay and show them some love. Also, make sure you come to my YouTube channel here Wednesday night. It's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's December 16th. There's going to be another thrift battle. It's the Battle of the Pickers. This one is between the Buffalo Picker and the Philly Picker. It's sure to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see you there. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.